Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, did I just hear that? Am I on? Because I didn't hear the blah, 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 blah. Hi, assuming I'm on. This is classic. Jesus. Hi. Been a while. I'm sorry for that. Good to be back, assuming I am. Who the hell knows? If my producer could let me know if I'm on, I'd appreciate that. So I disappeared for a week, and as usual, quite a bit happened. Quite a bit happened. For one, monkeypox. All I'm saying, monkeypox. I can't even. That's all I'm going to say. Period. I can't even. I refuse. I haven't read any article about it. I saw one picture, which was more than enough, of what it looks like if you get it. And I thought, that's it. I'm done. Monkeypox, forget it. You know, there's a point at which you just can't process anymore. What has happened since last I spoke to you? Did Buffalo happen? Buffalo happen. You know what I've noticed? Used to be after an event so clearly horrific, terroristic, racist, bloody, uniquely American. Used to be, what was the go-to for media? I mean, right after, what did we do? Well, we would engage in this rote discourse about gun control. Right. You know what? After Buffalo, I saw next to none of it. Nothing like it. We've totally given up. There are, assuming there is a dike that is keeping us safe from not illegal immigrants, keeping us safe from monkeypox, keeping us safe from Al-Qaeda, keeping us safe. If there is a dike, metaphoric dike, keeping us safe from errors that are clear on the horizon. Seems to me increasingly there are just too many holes in the dike and too few thumbs being stuck into those holes to staunch the leak. On better days, and today is a better day for me, I guess because I haven't had to engage in this kind of conversation, or well, it's not a conversation until somebody else pops in here, but I have not, done it, and so I'm for some time with the and I'm just I forgot where I was going. I can't even. I'm in a pretty good mood today. And on days like today, when I go through the litany of horrors, And things that seem vaguely apocalyptic and, frankly, dystopian. I mean, without being exaggerating. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. So, there's two things I thought, well, sifting through news today. My God, America, is now on the receiving end of airlifts of food from Germany. Those of us old enough to remember another time when airlifts of basic commodities would leave the United States and head toward beleaguered countries, including Germany. But now we have plane loads coming in. And I swear, I think I saw, and I just didn't have the energy or the will to read, other than the headline. I used to decry people who simply read headlines. I'm becoming one of them. Because, first of all, I feel like I know much of what is going to unravel below the headline. But also because, again, we all are trying desperately to maintain our sanity. Sometimes a headline is all you can do. So I saw a headline that said that Biden over there in Asia has vowed to defend Taiwan militarily if China invades. And my reaction to that was, because I don't think there's any doubt China intends to take Taiwan back. And Biden just said that means we'll go to war with China. I somehow don't think that's a good idea, but then what do I know? Jeez. Yeah, so things are, I see, going great. I want to say I'm thrilled with Summer Lee's victory. Whew. I am. And I didn't even vote for her. I voted for Dickinson, which I shouldn't have done. Now that when I saw how close the race was, I thought, oh my God, what did you do? But thank God, turned out she didn't need my vote. I mean, Dickinson was, of the people running, was the one that I did in fact want. And, you know, I so rarely do that. Vote for the person I really want. I'm often voting strategically, and I didn't know why. Strategic vote would have been for Summer Lee. So I'm glad for all you folks who did, because I think the last thing I wanted to see was a great white hope in the person of Steve Irwin, with all the white guys behind him and all the power and establishment behind him. I did not want to see him win. And I'll tell you, I wonder if all those white guys, and I know these guys, and I have cordial relationships with them, including with Steve Irwin, I wonder if they're capable of a measure of self-reflection. And if they can't see that they're out of step, they don't have a clue anymore who their constituents are and what their constituents want. Bill Peduto losing didn't seem to wake them up. Steve Irwin now losing. I don't know if they're awake yet. Every single white male office holder that I'm aware of, the Democratic Party apparatus all not only got behind Steve Irwin, the great white hope, the great establishment hope, but also really actively tried to trip up Summer Lee. People who have power don't give up power willingly. And these white guys who have run Democratic politics in this area forever need at a clue. Summer Lee, a black woman whose politics, I am willing to bet, are far to the left of most of her constituents. Summer Lee, a black woman, is going to be representing in Congress constituents who are, I think, overwhelmingly white. Don't know what the percentages are. And that says something good. Just like Pittsburgh, which is also overwhelmingly white, now has a black man as mayor. Hey, white guys, what is it that you're not understanding? And this brings me to a whole other thing. Have you seen, I mean, lately, there's so much to talk about, guys, and I'm sorry if I'm not talking about the thing you really want to hear about, but I don't even know where to start, as I said. But in the course of last time I talked to you, I happened to see a picture of I don't know, was it president or prime minister, I'm not quite clear, of Finland, and also I think of Sweden, because of course, you know, they're now saying, help, we want to join, enough of this neutrality crap, let us into NATO. So I'm looking at their heads of state, and you know what? Two things you can't help but notice. They're women. Well, frankly, they're beautiful women. They just can't help but notice. They're beautiful women. And here's another adjective. Young. Those are the people that the Finns and the Swedes have said, please lead us, represent us. And guys, you can't help but think about our leaders. I'm sorry, you can't. Who are so effing old. You are hard pressed to find older leaders anywhere in the world than the ones we keep electing. And I've been thinking, enough. It's sort of like the white guys in the Democratic Party here, and of course the Republican Party. The old white guys, step the hell aside. You had your day, you had your time. Make room. I'm not saying totally cede the stage, but make room for new blood, new ideas. The energy of the young. I am not belittling the experience of the old. I am not belittling. Here's another thing. I'm old. And that slip, belittling, that's an old person slip, I suspect. Any old person willing to be honest will tell they're not as sharp as they used to be. Not. I'm still plenty sharp, but I'm not as sharp. You lose a step or two. You lose 1 million or 2 brain cells, too. You have a lot to offer as an old person. Taking up too much space when there are all these younger people with talent and ability and ideas waiting to get into the positions that all us old people are holding, it's just not right. Step aside. Now, I would, but no one is asking me to. I'm not taking anything from anybody else. I assure you I'm not. If some young person wants to do what I'm doing, then there's nothing keeping, them and City Paper from putting that show on. And if City Paper were to say, you are like so much older than our demographic, I totally get it, right? Time for old farts to step aside. When I hear Joe Biden say he's thinking of running again, I think, you got to be kidding me, Joe. Come on. Look at our leadership. They make me look young. I'm just in my 70s. They're in their 80s. Look at the leadership all over the world. The old ones are in their 50s. And I'm not engaging in ageism here. I am engaging in a cry of alarm that part of what is wrong with our country right now is that those who have power and position will not cede it in a reasonable time, at a reasonable time. And I get it. People are defined by who they are, especially people in power. You see Nancy Pelosi sitting around knitting, going to book clubs. Mitch McConnell, what would he do? Joe Biden, this is all these people know. Donald Trump, that's what they know. They want. They can't let go. I understand that. Look around the world, guys. Look at the leaders of the rest of the world, generally speaking. What is it that we've got against new ideas, new energy? All right, I had to say that. God almighty. The greatest thing that happened, speaking of old, he tried to blame it on his age. Well, it might have been. That I'm 75. George W. Bush's Freudian slip. Did you hear it? Did you see it? I can read it to you. Unbelievable. There's something wonderful about it. Something just so wonderful. True Freudian slip. An unmasking. And then he followed it with an admission. It was the most amazing thing. So George W. Bush was speaking at his presidential library in Dallas. And he was droning on, as he, if you'll recall, was wont to do. Actually, he was reading, I think, badly from something. And it was not, boy, an orator he is not, was not, and will never be. And he was talking about Ukraine and about Putin. And then he said this, quote, "The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq." And he heard himself. He said, I mean, Ukraine. But then, right after he said Ukraine, he sort of shook his head and said, Iraq too. He said, Iraq too. And then said something like, look, I'm 75. Whoa! You imagine what was going on in his head. He was thinking, one guy, maybe he was thinking of Dick Cheney and not himself. One guy. The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal brutal invasion. And in his head, what does that mean? And he comes up with Iraq. And then when he corrects himself, there is something, a need of getting it off his chest. I don't know. Even after he corrected the gaffe in which he told the truth, he then again told the truth. Sotto voce, but told the truth. He said, Iraq too. Wow. Unbelievable. Maureen Dowd pointed out that at a time when it seems like nothing but lies come out of Republican mouths, this was amazing. A self-incrimination worthy of Dostoevsky, she said. A display of conscience and a swerve into truth in a time when truth seems lost in the mist. Yeah. Oh, boy. I mean, that thing, did it get reported? Must have, right? Josh writes, welcome back. I think maybe Biden has to say he's going to run again, because if he didn't, he'd be perceived as a lame duck. I think that happened to Teddy Roosevelt. Well, yeah, I think you're right. He has to say that. But then, you look at the field and you think, who, Democrats will not want to have him run so that they embarrass him by voting for somebody else. But then who is that somebody else? I'm just asking. I'm serious. I'm just asking. I was walking my dog and I had a thought. Because I did read something which was like ripping my guts out with every other sentence. I read this astonishingly long piece in the New York Times about the history of Haiti. It's a question I've often asked. How did one place on earth become so godforsaken? I mean, how the hell? And I knew some of the history, but I hadn't seen it laid out clearly. It is a history so brutal and so This is the thought I had with my dog, walking the dog. I thought, human history, when we do know it, is a story of such extraordinary cruelty and greed. It is. That's. I mean, you look at what moves history, the big events. I mean, the violence, the horror. And I'm thinking that all those negatives, more than the positive aspects of human existence, is what pushes the historical record. Now, once all those, the murderousness, the cruelty, the greed, the power grabbing, once that is underway, there are always then the good people desperately trying to help those who are victimized, trying to ameliorate, but they're always playing catch up. Always playing catch up. And I'll tell you something about the Haiti thing. When you think of all of the crimes, the criminal conduct of our nation and its history, we don't know the half of it. And if you want to know why Haiti is in the shape it's in, believe me, America's hands are not. No, God, no. No. The French, you're laying blame at the lion's share of what is Haiti today. The story is unbearable. Unbearable. I'm just going to say this much. Early 1800s, I think it's 1804. 1804. America was still a young country, living off of slave labor. And in this little colony in the Caribbean, where the riches were also filling the pockets of the French because of enslaved Africans, their labor. The sugar that came out, the coffee that came out, that little western part of the island of Hispaniola. That's what Europeans wanted, man, sugar and coffee. And the French were making money hand over fist. It's easy to make money hand over fist when you have thousands of enslaved human beings doing the work, enslaved human beings whose lives don't mean a thing to you because they're replaced by another boatload. And man, those slaves, (1804), they rose up. And they control. The most extraordinary and successful rebellion of an enslaved people that had ever occurred, certainly in the Western Hemisphere. The French humiliated. Can you imagine the humiliation? And so, after nursing their wounds for a while, it was Napoleon who sent warships to take back Haiti. And damn if those former slaves didn't send Napoleon and his warships packing. They beat him back. And they declared their independence as a nation. And no other nation would recognize them. Certainly the United States wouldn't recognize them. They're going to recognize some slaves having taken over? I don't think so. The French, now doubly humiliated, came back again. And this time, they prevailed. They had more warships around. There was no way. I mean, think of what did the enslaved guys have? So the French issued an ultimatum. All right, you want the place? We'll give you the place. But you're going to have to give reparations to us and to all those slave owners, the people who owned you, because you've deprived them of their wealth. Can you imagine? This was the loser in the war telling the winner in the war that they had to pay the loser. The problem was, young country that no one would acknowledge even existed had nothing anymore to do than comply. They had no money. So France said, fine, we'll loan you some to pay us back. I am not kidding you. This became known as a double debt. They actually owed French banks hundreds of millions of dollars because the French banks allowed them to repay their former slave owners. You cannot make this stuff up. And so I had this thought. History, if you know it, shows a brutality and a cruelty and a cunning that is mind-boggling. I don't even know where to go. I got so much here, guys. Is our caller still there? Wait a minute. I'm just yeah.
John,
is there a caller there?
John Fetterman?
Yeah. What about John Fetterman? Is that what you want me to talk about?
No, I was going to ask. You asked the question about your talking about when are the old people going to move off to the side and let the young people come in, and who's electable. And it's like, is it that far off base for John Fetterman to be the next presidential nominee? Yep.
Well,
he's a goonhead that the crazies would vote for, right? He looks like a goonhead, I should say.
No, but that's the kind of thing. It's true. If you're looking for, it's all now about, we know what it's about. It's about selling a brand. It's not about, Americans have been trained to be consumers of products. And I don't know. Fetterman's got bigger problems. By the way, who the hell knows who he's running against? But I have to tell you that his health is going to be an issue.
Well, it's funny. I'm not funny, but...
And here's what else will be an issue. His honesty about his health will be an issue. Because a lot of doctors, cardiologists, are starting to be heard from who are saying the story we're getting about what happened, it doesn't quite compute. I
get all that, but I don't think Biden should run again, unless he's our only choice against Voldemort. But Kamala Harris, I think she's more than capable. I may not like everything she does, but she can't win. There's no way.
No, there's nobody. That's why I'm telling you, there's nobody apparent. Nobody.
What's interesting is, the Republicans can put up, Howdy Doody, and then they can put up Adolf Hitler, and they would vote for the son of a bitch. And we can't. We have so much talent in our party of people who really believe in the democratic process, but that has nothing to do with anything anymore. Because, like you said, we're all been trained to be good consumers. So I don't know. It was interesting. I just got back from vacation while you were off last week too, for different reasons. And I'm driving through, the span in Alabama, that territory between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, and seeing all the ridiculous signs and everything. And it got me thinking about, why I said John Fetterman, his health off notwithstanding, because, I was like watching Steve Irwin's political commercials, and how he finished up one with the accordion and juxtapose that against the Republicans who are firing guns and everything. It's like, talk about black and white and up and down and just crazy. And yet, Steve Irwin's not claiming a rigged election, is he?
No, because that's not what we do. No, but we don't fight like we're going to have to fight, and we're not fighting like we have to fight. We seem to fight each other a lot. I don't know. I'm very, very concerned, and I'll tell you what I see on the horizon in terms of white Christian nationalism and the Great Replacement theory and all of that stuff is really, really frightening. It is not going away. It is becoming mainstream. It is becoming the heart and blood of the Republican Party. And right here in Pennsylvania, the Republican candidate for governor is a white Christian nationalist. Make no mistake. And he is a scary guy. Can I give you a quote from Mastriano? This is the guy that the Republicans of our state overwhelmingly chose as who they want as governor. Here's a quote from the man who would be governor of Pennsylvania. He's thinking when he's governor, I get to appoint the Secretary of State, who's delegated from me the power to make the corrections to elections, to the voting laws and everything. I could decertify every machine in the state with a stroke of a pen via the Secretary of State. That's a quote.
I'm saluting with my right hand up in the air right now. So
he is flat out telling people that if he were elected, and he is the candidate of the Republican Party with Trump's imprimatur, and he is saying he will overturn the next election if it's not to his liking.
Yeah, it's
because
it's almost over.
Well, yeah. Well, I also, and this guy is so far gone that he also, he flirts. I don't think flirts is quite right with the QAnon crowd, with the satanic blood cults, with all that kind of craziness. He's there. He's there with those guys. Those are his people too, and it's frightening. It is frightening. This is getting more and more of a toehold.
And add on to that, not only the banning of books in public schools, but I read somewhere where a judge is ruling against Barnes and Nobles or a bookstore from selling a certain book.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I wish I had it in front of me. I could tell you
that doesn't make sense.
But it's like, and it's down in the South, but we're not too far from that anymore. This is scary, and people are forgetting to use their brains and realize what we're supposed to be about. And it's just all about it's a power grab. It's a power grab, and that's all it is. Mm-hmm. Democracy be damned.
Okay.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for the call.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. No, these Christian nationalists are. Here's another quote from Mastriano. The forces of darkness are hitting us really hard right now. We're going to bring the state back to righteousness. This is our day, our hour to take our state back and renew the blessings of America. Make no mistake. These guys, of whom Mastriano is one, believe that America should be and is a Christian nation, and that true Americans are Christian. They're also white. Make no mistake, the horror of Buffalo and the horror of Tree of Life are one and the same. Those two mass murders committed by white guys who bought into what the Republicans are peddling now, what Fox News is peddling now, the great replacement theory. That Jews, always in control, that Jews are behind the effort to bring brown and black-skinned people, others, people not white and Christian, to bring them in to replace the good white Christians. You'd be astonished at how many of your fellow Americans are totally on board with this, totally agree that that is what's happening. And it's only going to grow. So white Christian nationalism, understand that that is something that is taking over the Republican Party, along with the great replacement theory. I remember when Charlottesville happened, which was that seems like another world. And that chant we heard with those tiki torch-bearing white guys was, the Jews will not replace us. And as a Jew who somehow, I'm very aware of anti-Semitic tropes and all this stuff, I didn't understand it. I never heard that. The Jews will not replace us. And I took it on face value and I thought, how can Jews replace anybody? There's so few in the world. You put Jews up against white Christians and there's no way Jews can replace you. What I didn't understand was the Great Replacement theory, that it's the Jews who are controlling, who are the puppet masters, of course, that will allow black and brown people to replace what the guy who killed all the Jews a few blocks from where I'm sitting right now believed and was protesting. And it's exactly what the guy in Buffalo believed. It's what the guy, you'll recall, I think it was a grocery store shooting in El Paso that went after brown people, Hispanic people. Also, the perpetrator there buying into the same theory. And this stuff that you thought was off the wall, it's at the heart of the Republican Party now. Onward, Christian soldiers. And a lot of the leadership in the Republican Party, and certainly at the state level, and certainly in this state, you, if you're listening, are hearing, much more exclusionary kind of language. You'll hear the devil invoked. And make no mistake, you are the devil. Here's someone who's been following Mastriano and this whole white Christian nationalism. Says Mastriano's hardcore supporters have a fervor that is very much like a religious movement. Well, I got news for this guy. It is a religious movement. But a lot of these folks don't understand the Constitution. Well, you got that right. They wouldn't agree with it. You have to remind them there is no religious test in the Constitution. That won't, well, they'll say there should be. Because their belief at the core is that Christianity should be infused into America's identity. And we've seen this kind of thing for a long time, but not like we're seeing it now. When Mastriano won, said what he would do when he's elected. Our promised land, he says, is Pennsylvania. Listen to the promised land. Our promised land is Pennsylvania. Only biological women can participate in sports day one. Like that's like something that's like a major issue in people's lives, right? CRT is done. Boom. Day one. God. And then I saw in an article about it that he referred to the fact that in Harrisburg there is a painting of a crucified Jesus. Is that true? I mean, excuse me, but that's what I read in this article. This is a Washington Post article. And Mastriano has that picture on his Facebook page. And he told his constituents this is Mastriano again. This painting in the Senate, so it's in the state Senate, a crucified Jesus, is based on John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. And then he goes on to say, this is what our country was founded and based on. And we cannot let anyone take it from us. What the hell is a crucified Jesus doing in the Pennsyvania State Senate? I'm just asking. Believe it or not, I've never been there. But I find that unsettling, especially given the fact that this state Senate and the state House are in the hands of people who are either already these white Christian nationalists or who are quickly heading that way. You know, if you look at who in the Republican Party are denying that Joe Biden won, the biggest group of deniers on a state legislative level are in Arizona. 81% of all Republican legislators, 81% in Arizona say that the election was rigged. Last presidential election. Pennsylvania, 78% of all Republican, the vast majority of Republican legislators in this state were willing to say that the votes of the people of this state should be overturned. And those representatives are still there. And now one of them, Mastriano, is running for governor. If you look at where this white Christian nationalism, great replacement theory, republicanism is institutionally strong, look no further than Harrisburg. Yeah. Frightening. Frightening, because it's true. Also, I want to make clear that CPAC, the conservative, that grouping of conservative thinkers, they are always having these conferences and conventions. I mentioned that they were going to do this. Well, they're there now. They're in Hungary. That's where they called their latest convention. In Hungary. Why? Because they're in love with Hungary's neo-fascist, white Christian nationalist president, Viktor Orban. And he addressed the rapt audience of American wannabes. And some of what was said was chilling. Some of the other speakers they turned to were chilling. Just known racists and anti-Semites and, boy, homophobes. That's one of the things that they love about Orban is he has demonized and criminalized homosexuals again. So at the same CPAC conference that Orban was speaking to all the big Republicans, Donald Trump showed up on screen as well. And a guy named Solz Bayer came on. This guy is a notorious Hungarian racist and anti-Semite who has called my people stinking excrement. He refers to black people with the N-word and animals. We're all the same. And so on that same platform, Donald Trump, the audience made up of American Republicans in leadership positions, and Viktor Orban, who they come to worship. You saw Tucker Carlson do his entire show from there earlier in the year. These are neo-fascists. The Republican Party is not even being subtle about where they want to head. And our media is not covering this like it should. And our Democratic Party is not dealing with this head on as it should. Barbara just sent me something. CPAC accused of throwing a party to Hungarian fascism. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's just astonishing. Astonishing. And I, again, don't know if the American media are calling it what it is. What are they meeting in Hungary for? Hungary, viewed by all other European nations with a bit of fear and definite serious attention, because they fear that Orban and Hungary are like a fifth column in the EU, because they do not support liberal democracy. They support authoritarianism based on white nationalism. Simple as that, which is exactly what our Republican Party wants. And we hear that in the upcoming election, that Republican Party, the white nationalist, neo-fascist Republican Party, is going to have a field day. Where's the urgency on the Democratic side? I am asking. Hey, I see my time's up. I didn't really tell you. I know I took the last week off because of medical stuff. I am going to be, it's all the rage now. I do have to have a pacemaker implant. Yes, you know, all of us Fetterman supporters are, us really serious Fetterman supporters are also getting pacemakers. But I will. So that'll be maybe another day that I'm going to have to be off, and that'll be in about 2 weeks. That's, I think, when they're getting me into the OR. So I do need a pacemaker. I thought I did. I knew I did. I've been feeling really lousy. And I'll be like the Energizer Bunny. But again, as I say, all us folks with our pacemakers and our gray hair and our experience and wisdom need to seriously think if we're standing in the way of young people who need to get experience and who have the potential of being great leaders. Some people just don't know when to leave. And usually that's people in power. Who wants to give it up? All righty, I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow. Susan should be joining us as far as I know. And good to be back.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.